you have like someone asked me today on a work meeting call? They said, "Hey, how was your Christmas?" First of all, I hate talking about life on any work calls because like I don't care. Like I like the people, I love the people I work with. I really do. So that aside, but like it's work time. If you want to bullshit about stuff, like let's just do like a happy hour. I don't know. Like I work remotely, so it's a little harder to do a happy hour. I mean, I have done it with a couple of my coworkers. I've driven to Orlando because they live there. Right. But like, let's bullshit then. But like when we have work meeting calls, I don't want to be bullshitting because let's get shit done. So
yeah, work calls, virtual. Yes.
Keep it to work.
Yep.
They asked me, what is your favorite gift that you got? Like, I don't really think about it like that at age 35.
Yeah, I was just going to say the age 35. Like, I don't go into Christmas hoping to get something cool anymore.
I don't. Like, I mean, I do. I have. I got a lot of great shit. The first thought in my brain was long story short, my thermostat, when they built the house, it can only be connected to their shit. Right. I could look it up on how to like jailbreak it, quote unquote, right, and then do what I want. But I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, I don't want to do this. I'll just pay the $100 and get a brand new thermostat. That way I can freely do Wi-Fi stuff, Alexa, whatever. Asked for a thermostat, got a thermostat for Christmas.
What? Okay, this is random because what kind? Because I just bought a thermostat too, which I never thought I would do. So what are we talking?
There's so many out there, but the one that I received, I've not looked into this brand at all. It's called Cincy. Is the brand. Yeah. What do you got?
I think it's Honeywell, I think.
Yeah, Honeywell's what I have now.
Okay, this is supposedly gives me a fuck ton of rebates. So I did it all on lowering my energy bill somehow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Honeywell, I mean, my thermostat works great. Currently, it's just, it's the model connected to alarm.com, which is a $45 a month fee, and I ain't paying for that. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
Right? The whole integration with the Wi-Fi and the Alexa. Like, they get the old people, right? Like, oh, it's all integrated for you. We set it all up. $45 a month to keep it going. Anyway, as for a thermostat, so I'm fired up about a thermostat, right? But, like, I'm not going to tell. I got a thermostat.
Is that what you said? What'd you answer?
I said, I got way too much stuff, to be honest with you. But, I'll be honest with you. My favorite thing that I got is all the food. I was like, my mom cooked a lot of great stuff and a lot of Christmas desserts, Christmas goodies, and she sent me home with all of them. So, needless to say, I will be putting on a lot of LBs in the next week to 2 weeks.
I got a couple to-go containers of cookies too.
Oh, that's
only cookies, not real food. But I never have cookies or desserts. So for me, I'm like, what a treat for like 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah, we got a full gallon of milk too. So we talk about January here, pre-show, right? And I think I'm gonna what they call alcohol empty calories, right? That's what they call alcohol. I'm just gonna make up for it here with all these goodies and milk. So I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be any better. I don't know if it's gonna be any better for me. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh wow, you haven't drank for a month. Oh my gosh, you've had like 10,000 calories on sweets and brownies and Oreo balls and, peppermint bark. And
I'm offsetting. That's all you're doing at that point. That's all right.
Yeah. It's not intentional, but makes the heart feel good. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway.
We need something to get us through it being pitch black at 5 p.m.
Dude. Oh my gosh. December 21st was 4:44 p.m. sunset.
Ugh. Yep.
Yeah. I saw Florida hit the least in terms of daylight savings time, as in it's already short already at that point for us, so we only see a 40-minute difference. Whereas you get more north, you get hit worse, right? It comes an hour to it. Like the daylight really gets shorter. So I don't know for you guys if it's way worse. I would assume, but at least what I saw on the graphic. So
yeah, I believe it because even going home to Kansas, I felt like it was like 30 minutes is all.
Okay.
But the time where it got dark, obviously Denver's an hour back too, but from the time like it got dark when I was in Kansas to when I drove home, because I was, 7 or 8 hour drive. So I'm kind of driving through that. And I'm like, man, there actually was a little bit more daylight in Kansas.
Seeing something different. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, we got a short episode today, only covering college. We will hit we'll probably even have a shorter one maybe here on Thursday for NFL because we won't be touching base on the where we were right and where we were wrong type of stuff. But we'll show the action QRL codes, get that out of the way now. If you're watching on the video portion, scan your phone, get us on there. It's a lot better for me. I mean, I've had a rough stretch here the last, couple of weeks for sure. But with that said, I've had some winning bets compared to my best bets have been atrocious. You know what I mean? Plus, we don't talk about any other sports on this show, which is fine because I kind of do my other sports bets kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it last minute, right? But I definitely do it kind of day of,
Gotcha.
Like I watch a lot of Penn's games, so I don't really only know about the Penns on the NHL, so I bet them twice yesterday. Right. So anyway, if you want to see our bets, hop on the action there and get some of those extra bets if you want to bet other sports, because we'll have that coming up here. Less and less football games are being played on the weekends.
Less and less football. And like you said, yeah, it's tough with the best bets when you're like, man, I got to pick out 4 bets, but I've got like 20 on the board, And so you're like, I hope I pick out the right 4. So that's, the easiest way to see everything we're doing.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm on a pretty cold streak myself, so I would not, We've got to get that turned around.
You're better than me. That's for damn sure. I only have one in terms of, I guess you're talking 2 weeks back now. So not this past Sunday or Saturday even, but 2 weeks back. I only had Vikings at Seahawks. I had the over 42.5. That was nice. That bet worked out really good for me. But the other ones, we'll get into where we were wrong. They did not. It's just weird, really, for me, especially this year. A lot of the bets that I've gotten wrong have been like, most of them have been not even close, like just absolute bad bets. Like I haven't had a year where like the best bets, I guess in this case, where the ones that are wrong, they're just straight up just atrociously wrong.
Yeah, like not even exciting at the end.
Not even exciting at the end, right? Not even a nail biter where you're enjoying it, which I don't know if that's good and bad, because when you're way off, it's like, I'm way off. You know what I mean? You're not like, it's not a bad loss. It's not a bad beat. It's just like, hey, I'm just
That is a good point. Which loss is worse? The one you lose by 2 yards, or the one by halftime you're like, fucking dead? Sucks. Move on.
Which loss is worse? A bad beat. It's about 2 yards, or like the Adam Thielen a couple weeks ago, right? Which was a half yard. Those losses are worse because not saying you were right, but you had a really good look at it and you were almost there, right? It's just like almost within your grasp.
Yeah, that's where I'd be too. Because the ones you get your ass beat, like you're pissed, but it's halftime and you're pissed, and then you just like forget about it completely. The other ones, you're just, you're full attention.
Yep. You're like, man, why couldn't I have done this? Or what if this would have happened? Or a penalty wasn't thrown here? Whatever.
Right. When you're like, why the fuck are they running the football?
Yeah, so that's tough. But you had 3 right again. Is that back-to-back weeks, 3-1? I can't remember.
I think so. I think it is. Yeah. So my best bets have been good. Other bets have not been as good. So I should just only bet my best bets currently. That's where we're getting at. First one, Panthers plus 4.5. That was the dog that I liked, and they did win that game outright versus the Cardinals.
Yep.
Chuba Hubbard went off. That was nice. That was a bounce back. I think I'm now 3-1 on picking the dogs to win outright. I always take the points or kind of split the bet, but Panthers came through, saved all their game for that one. So that was cool. Then we did AJ Brown over 25.5 longest reception. That was against the Commanders.
Yep.
Hit pretty early on. I want to say second quarter. They just like I said, they just chuck it up to AJ Brown, and he went up and just took it. Like, he wasn't even that open. He just went and took it from the defenders. It was like 40 yards. Like, sweet. That's what I was counting on. Coin flip bet, but that's what I was counting on. Just that. And then the rare college bet. We did the Tennessee team total under 18.5, which I am guessing you now wish you would have done. Just because I see the wrong section, and it's like you weren't wrong on the read. Just one team. But yeah, Tennessee had 17. Never in threat, though, right? Because they had 7 at halftime, I want to say. They got like a garbage touchdown late to even try to get it close.
Yep.
And the thing is, you had the read on that game too, because we talked about that. You were trashing Tennessee's offense versus Ohio State's defense.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, that's the bet I'm taking, because I agree with everything you're saying. You just went team full game, which we'll get to in a second.
Yep. You're right. And that under, which you're getting into, is that was in play for a minute, and then it wasn't, right? I was hanging on there. But that would have been, so we've both had bets of team total for Tennessee under now. So I've hit one with Oklahoma, Tennessee. Now you've hit now with Ohio State versus Tennessee. And I think the under 18.5, that was lower than what they had versus Oklahoma, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Big time. It was. Yep.
So, we've made some money, or to collectively, I guess, made a little bit of money on Tennessee team total there. But Where we were wrong, I have quite a bit there. SMU, not even close. Talked about not even close.
Other first half plus 5.5.
Not even 28-0, I believe it was in the first quarter. I think, or if it was the first half, doesn't matter. They didn't have a point. That's the point. They didn't even have a point to get within of that. And then Tennessee at Ohio State. Some garbage points late, like you just said, but that was kind of in play there for a little bit. And then obviously fourth quarter kind of busted over. And then I wish I had this Adam Thielen pick yesterday. Man, he hit it in the first half.
I saw that. Yep.
He tore it up. Now, second half, they kind of faded away with that. But yeah, in the first half, he was getting targeted. He was getting catches, and they were for bulk of yards. So, missed it by half a yard the first time. Not this Sunday, but the week before that, Thielen only had, I think, 40 yards. I think it was in that game. So that was kind of rough with that one. So I missed. I'm 0-2 on Thielen, right? So maybe I should. Thielen's not my guy. And again, like I said, it's going to be a week. It's going to be over. I think it was 58 this past weekend. I did hit on Sunday. Not that I profited money, but I did hit Leggett.
Under
34.5 yards. Yeah. Who bets a prop
Where did
under?
that come from?
So he's been banged up, right? He's been out, completely out. And he was questionable all week. And then he was finally ruled in. Now, I was kind of sweating it because I think he had 20 yards in the first half. 18 or 20 yards in the first half. I was like, okay, he's getting some targets now. But, man, that offense went completely flat in the second half. So I don't know if you want to call it luck on the Leggett play, but it was based off him being banged up and Coker kind of on the rise, I guess. Coker did have a catch or two in the game. So I think they're spreading the ball or trying to a little bit more now with Coker, Leggett, and Thielen now all getting love. But again,
okay.
The offense was flat that second half yesterday. That's probably why they got
right, because it was kind of fireworks first half. Yeah,
it was.
Well, I just saw the number was like 34.5 with the gas, so that's where I was like the low number to go under on.
Yep.
And he's the rookie, but yeah, Coker is getting all the love now, at least from the young guys.
Yes, and Leggett averages a drop a game before he got injured. Yeah, he has a lot of drops this year. So I even have that work in my favor. He could get a big drop. He was targeted, I think, like 4 or 5 times. But man, it's as bad as injuries wise, and as bad as kind of they've looked at times this year. The Buccaneers' pass defense, I thought they looked pretty decent yesterday versus the Carolina Panthers. But Panthers are a bad team, right, in terms of record. I know they've competed. You won on them there at the 4.5, but at the end of the day,
not very good.
That's right. Anyway, you had Texans at Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, the under 42.5 on this game. This was one of those that was dead pretty early. I mean, there was a little bit of hope in the third quarter, but they kept scoring. Yeah, I was surprised. Both teams were moving it up and down the field really all game. And what a finish at 49. It was, so it's like it didn't get blown out of the water, but you also, the vibe of the game was like, didn't see this happening.
Yeah.
And really, Tank Dell going down probably did help the Chiefs a lot because Texans looked miserable this week without him.
Yep, out for the year, right? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think he did something to his kneecap and tore his ACL.
That's right.
Yeah, a couple things. So anyway, that was the loss we took total, of course.
Yep. Record graphic. Alex Meisch is still in the profitable win column. I don't know if it's because I've gone away from the sack props. We kind of hit a cold spell, but I need a winning week coming up this week here. We got a college bets coming up to tomorrow, whatever. I've actually done pretty decent on bowl games, which is nice. Last year I was average. This year I've actually been pretty decent. Not on the college football playoff, but just on random ones.
Yeah, which is, we've talked about the biggest way to take advantage, the best time, if you can do all the research, right? And stick in front of a computer. I mean, like one game, Syracuse went from 6-point favorite to 18 at close.
Yeah.
Like there's shit like that if you get ahead of it. And I think they still won by 18.
Yeah.
So
and then I saw, I have North Texas +9, but they've gotten all the way up to 14, getting points. Sorry, +9 for North Texas. They're all the way up to 14. So, it's keep an eye on that, the portal and whatnot. And if they're actually going to play, and that's what's tough, right, is we've talked about this before, the injuries and whatnot. There's no official injury report in college football, which really stinks. The same reason with kind of this portal thing in the bowl games, there's no really official if they're going to play or not. I know some teams have said, like Colorado, have said that they are going to play, but we didn't know Cam Ward's going to sit out the second half in that Miami game. We didn't know that. So it's stuff like that that really kind of catches you. I try not to look too much into that, but it's definitely easy to know, especially if there is a definite they are not playing. That helps a lot. Like Western Kentucky was supposed to be on their 4-string quarterback, and they played their starter, who basically, it broke every record for the school. You know what I mean? Like, so that kind of thing kind of sucks. But again, action has an uncle, so that I follow. That helps.
Right. Yeah, that's like, see, bowl games, I did very little of this year because I knew it requires all that, and it's like, I'm just not going to put it in this year. Mm-hmm. Versus playoffs, I bet every playoff game, and done surprisingly well in those. But those are like, we know the known commodities of who's going to show up.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it's huge advantage or really hard.
I understand.
Depending. Yep. So,
it's not for everybody. Not for everybody. All right. Let's hit it. So we got only doing college football quarterfinals, the playoffs, today. So we're going to cover 4 games. One of them occurs on the 31st, tomorrow night, 7:30, and the other ones occur on the 1st, right? So we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but we'll start, obviously, with that first one, Boise State at Penn State. Boise State at Penn State. So that one's going to be kind of a – I don't know. Like, here's what – I kind of looked at these games, and I think it's kind of tough, honestly. But this one, I bet as soon as it was released, okay, the Boise State-Penn State game, just because I think Penn State has the easiest road, I thought, or does.
For sure, 100%.
Okay. To the ship. So I thought that was going to be the most beneficial to them. And plus, pending, like Boise State's strength of schedule, obviously people don't love, and they played Oregon and they barely lost. But that was kind of earlier-ish in the year. It was
very early on, week 2, yes.
And
yes,
Oregon got
that
better.
Brought up so much better since then. Yep.
So
and then also, sorry to cut you off there, but also Oregon had some linemen down in that game.
Right.
That have since come back and played. So Oregon barely won their first game versus Idaho. So anyways, just to bring that up, because yes, I think people can be like, well, Boise almost beat Oregon. And it's like, they're different teams now.
They are different. And I mean, Oregon, obviously, I was going to say that with their line is their line was supposed to be probably their best part of the team. And they kind of were looked relatively their weakest part of the team earlier in the year. Obviously a lot better now, but that was kind of a concern there. But they got better. I do have some. So I have Penn State minus 10.5. That's best bet. That's what I got it at. I've seen it bounce around a decent bit here recently. I see it's at 11.5. I've seen kind of bounce up higher than that. I've seen it bounce back down to 10.5. So I don't think there's a huge difference between the numbers, especially when you get in that 11.5, 10.5 range. I don't know. I would love to get 10, but if you're on the Penn State side. But what I have is Penn State has a pretty solid rush defense, ranked 30th. But with Abdul Carter, their pass rush is nice. So everyone's kind of banking on, right, Boise State and Genty kind of running all over, which I think they're going to have success running because they're like, dude, Genty's sick. I mean, I was seeing some numbers today with how good he is versus like after first hit, you know what I mean? Stuff like some Derrick Henry type number, like, man, like that is some baller numbers. Maybe in terms of talking like PFF and grades like that, if you're looking at that kind of stuff, like they might be the best ever, if not in the top 5 best ever, right? When you're kind of looking at his stuff and what PFF grades off of, right? And yards after contact, missed tackles forced. Like, dude, he's going to set records with their grading for that, which is pretty sweet.
Insane. I saw that too. And I was like, is this the highest graded guy ever? Just because I've never seen a grade that high.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, 95.8 on PFF? That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, real good.
But pass rush-wise, they're going to do a lot of play action to try to get Madsen involved, which is the quarterback for Boise State. I just don't know if I think Penn State, they did in the regular season, had the best defense in the country. Obviously, some issues playing Oregon and whatnot kind of exploited them at times. The third best pass rush in FBS, Penn State is. Here was the kicker for me, and I kind of been going on. This has kind of been my theme this year. Boise State is the second worst tackling team in the country. Now, obviously, Penn State doesn't knock your socks off offensively. They really only give it to one guy, Warren, their tight end. Right, he'll be playing on Sundays. But But with that said, being such a bad tackling team, we've seen Iowa State have issues with that, right? Arizona State played Iowa State in the conference championship game. Arizona State roughed their ass up, right? Scatterbo, you can't tackle them. And we just saw Iowa State in their bowl game. It was awful. They can't tackle anybody. So, similar vibes here with Boise State. I'm really worried about that. Now, I did kind of find some positives with Boise State. They have pretty good corners. They might have the best corner in the country, debatably. Marion McCoy, so they're decent in pass coverage, but they only have 15 turnovers in 13 games, so they can't
forced.
Yes,
damn.
So they can't turn the ball over, and they can't tackle. That's a concern. So it's going to come down to Drew Aller on the offensive side of the ball, I think, for Penn State, right? Some play actions, trying to make plays. It's not like Penn State's receivers are awesome. You know what I mean?
No.
So that's kind of what worries me a little bit on the Penn State side is, can they score enough to get over the 10.5? I can see we get to 10 and kind of coast, right? But can they get over the hump to 10.5? Like, I think that's going to be really close. It's going to be depending on the number that you can get here. Because Boise State could control the game a little bit, trying to just, play keep away. I don't know. What do you like? Is 10.5 good enough number? I don't. What do you like here? I'd be curious to know on your end if there's anything to bet on.
Yeah, I have not made a bet yet. I was looking at a lot of the same things you were, because my initial thinking was, I think I'm going to like the under here.
Yeah.
Because Penn State, when they've gotten beaten defensively, it's been against teams that run the spread offense. I think we talked about that versus SMU, because I thought SMU had a fighting chance because of that, or to score points. I took the over in that game based on that. But Boise State doesn't spread. They just ground and pound. Like you said, the strength of Penn State's defense is probably their defensive line, right? They can rush the passer and they can stop the run.
Yep.
But as I got to looking, I don't like the under anymore, because not only is Penn State second to last, you said, in tackling? Or Boise State?
Boise State.
Boise State, second to last. Penn State's not very good either. That's actually the first thing I saw. And then I went and I was like, oh, Boise State's even worse. But I was like, if Penn State is a bad tackling team going against a guy that has created almost 2,000 yards after the contact in 1 year, going back to Gianti and some of the stupid stats he has, I feel like he could bust a couple off. Like, I think Boise State will not have consistent success on offense because Penn State's pass coverage is good enough too. But I think Gianti can actually bust a couple here. And that's what kept me off the under. And I was honestly leaning Boise State, but I'm not confident, because I'm like, I could see them only busting off like 3 drives, scoring 17 points. Penn State scores 31. I could see like that type of a game, but that's so close to the over under for me and like the spread that right now I don't have a lot, because also we don't know. Boise State kind of limped their way through the end of the year versus bad competition, really bad competition. Yep. So I could see Penn State going against a lesser opponent now and doing what James Franklin does and winning by 22, Yeah. But anyways, the tackling worries me for Penn State. So that's what's kept me off everything. Kind of last point I had here, Penn State doesn't have a very good pass blocking. So I'm like, okay, can Boise State take advantage of that defensively? Again, when I was looking at the under, they have an okay pass rush. It's not bad, but like, Penn State being graded bad, they've also had a hard schedule. So they're stepping down in competition and not going up against like a huge threat. They have a couple guys that are nice on the defensive line for Boise. But anyways, I just don't see like these big disparities between matchups. I think where Penn State's weak, Boise State's kind of weak. Yeah, man. So I have to pass on everything right now.
Yeah, the tackling, I mean, I agree. 87th Penn State in tackling, second to last. So 133 for Boise State in tackling. So maybe if you're watching the game and you follow it, like maybe you could see how bad this tackling really is on both sides. Abdul Carter's probably going to go top 5. I just looked up a mock draft. Panthers had him at 6, depending on, obviously it's going to be depending on what team gets what position right in terms of drafting. But Abdul Carter's probably going to be a top 10 pick out of Penn State. So he's going to be big on the pass rush here, trying to get after Madsen. But yeah, I agree. Like hearing the running teams, like the lack of kind of offensive and pass protection for Penn State, and then the heavy run team for Boise State, you're like, okay, under, but then you can't tackle. Like they're going to have big plays. Right. I just saw big play percentage for Drew Aller was like over 4%. I think that was
really high for him. Yeah. Compared to what Maddox does.
And we saw that against West Virginia. I know that game was early in the year, first game of the season, right? Penn State, but they had that big play right before halftime to kind of put them over, they put them up 17. So yeah, it's a scary bet either way. That's probably why you're probably staying away.
Yeah. I'm sure by the time kickoff comes, I'm gonna find myself doing something.
Yeah.
But those are the leans I'm thinking. So I'll get to something, but there's nothing I feel confident about talking about.
Yeah, I gotcha. I got Penn State minus 10.5, my best bet. I bet that right when the spread came out because I thought that was going to be the best look. But
it's bounced back and forth, like you said. There's been 10.5 available this week too. It's bounced between those two numbers.
Yep. Okay. Next one I got is going to be the Notre Dame Georgia game. Now I've been kind of all over the place on this in terms of which ones I like. Like if you kind of listen to just the basics, you listen, right? Carson Beck's out, so you got Gunnar Stockton in. So you're like, okay, I would definitely favor Notre Dame here. But then Notre Dame has injuries as well, right? Their the best probably defensive tackle pass rush wise is out, which is huge, right? Riley Mills is out for the game. Wonderfully graded in the pass rush department. So that's a huge loss. But at the same token, is Georgia going to run now with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback? Maybe not pass as much because they're almost a 61% passing team in terms of play calling. But now with Carson Beck out, right, does that change the way they play call a little bit? Because if you watch the Georgia-Texas game, ETN was running all over. He was getting after that Texas defense. So it's like, okay, crap. So now they might run the ball more. So that kind of maybe changes it a little bit. So Riley Mills wouldn't even be much of that factor because he's not the greatest in terms of grading run defense stopper. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, that's where I kind of got confused and kind of crazy with this. But Notre Dame really hasn't been down at all this year. If you look at a lot of their games, they just kind of destroy teams. And obviously the Northern Illinois game, they lost. But Marcus Freeman's always good for a random loss like that versus a group of five opponent.
Every year.
Marshall, they've lost. Northern Illinois, they've lost. But they rebound pretty well. They always do. They have this year, and they haven't been down a lot. So my concern is if they ever get down in this game, they might not be able to come back. Like Riley Leonard, not a fan of him. Phil still loved him going into last year. Obviously now transferring to Notre Dame. I have a little concerns if they get down. Now, they do play solid D, and they do control the game well. They're a balanced team. Mm-hmm. So the biggest question is going to be like Gunnar Stockton. He did make a really bad throw. Like I remember in that Texas game, it wasn't even close to anybody. Kind of rolled out of the pocket, was under pressure, and then just slung it somewhere. And
to nowhere.
To nowhere.
Yeah, and an important part of the game too.
Oh, so important. So I was like, oh, that's it. Like that's Texas's breakthrough. But then again, also Georgia leads the NCAA and drops the receivers lead and drops. So we have a backup quarterback throwing to receivers who drop the ball a lot. Now, obviously, there's other things involved there, like Carson Beck throwing a catchable ball, all that jazz, right? But like, still, receivers leading NCAA and drops is concerning. So I'm kind of leaning towards the under 45.5 here, mainly because they're going to run the ball with Stockton and ETN. Right? ETN looked great, obviously, in their last game. Riley Leonard has, I think, 14 or 13 rushing touchdowns, but he only has like one more passing touchdown, so like 15 passing touchdowns. So they do a lot on the running side of the ball in Notre Dame as well. I think we're going to play a lot of like ball control and play good D here, especially with two running teams. 45 does seem low already, but I just see more trying to control the game on both sides. You know what I mean? Notre Dame's 38th in rush defense, so I like that a lot there. And I'm assuming, I'd be interested to know what you think. Does Georgia change their play calling here, right? We're at 61% pass. Does that kind of go back down to like a 50-50 maybe?
I would think so.
That's a big jump kind of downwards, right, to kind of go back to even. And if you kind of look at ETN, he's been banged up a little bit. Like how many? I mean, I know they got a good freshman backup and whatnot, but like, does fatigue kind of go in a factor there? Not used to getting that many carries, right? Because Carson Beck likes to sling it. Does that kind of change their? I don't know. I think that's a little bit looking a little too deeper into that than you really should. But I like the under here, 45. Not a best bet, but that's where I'm leaning. I'm interested to see what the market does on the day of.
You're going to hold out before you take it then?
I'm going to hold out and see what the market does. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks so 44, and now we are at 45.5.
Yeah, I got a 46 on DraftKings.
You got a 46. Okay. Yeah, because I could see game day, late game, right? Or like since it's a later kickoff, public could bet that up. It's a good point. And I say that because I'm on the exact same side as you. Okay. So what I had written down here, it's not a best bet, but the under was my one luck. And I think I'm going to put a little bit on Notre Dame money line too. But we'll get to it. So a lot of the same thoughts as you. Georgia has their receivers are not very good. They haven't been good all year. When you think about what they lost, like Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, those guys are excelling in the NFL in the rookie season, excelling.
Yep.
Georgia obviously could not replace them. All the guys are probably really high recruits because Georgia's like 1 or 2 every year in recruiting somehow. A lot of deep pockets there. Didn't know that about Georgia. But the receivers aren't putting out. The best part of Georgia's offense is that offensive line. You obviously, the easiest thing to come in here and say is, oh, they have a quarterback that hasn't started all year. He's young. You're going to run the football. And that's probably true. Well, that also goes with the strength of Georgia's team. And they're going to need it because Notre Dame is I just had this pulled up, third-rated pass coverage team in NCAA football. They've been stiff against that all year. And when you put that against, that's the weakness. Georgia, I think they know they have to come established to run. That slows the game down is what I'm thinking. I also don't love Riley Leonard. I haven't all year. And Georgia's got some dogs. Like, they don't show it every game for some reason. But they still got some dogs on defense. And I don't think Notre Dame is one of those teams that typically against defenses, they want to win offensively, right? They want to go with their head coach. His identity is winning on defense. So I think they come and try to slow this game too. So as I was looking at everything, like I like Notre Dame money line because I could see Georgia really, really struggling offensively here. I really could. But I lean more towards the under.
Yep. Because the biggest strength for Georgia's defense is their run defense. Right. They stuff the run, and that's what Notre Dame, I think, probably will try to do.
Yep.
One thing I did see, which I thought was a tad interesting, is, turnover-worthy play percentage for Riley Leonard is only at 1.57%. So they're not going to look to turn – they don't look to turn – no one looks to turn the ball over. But Notre Dame does not.
They're way more conservative.
Right.
He's not going to blow you out with stats, but he's not going to turn it over.
And I have a feeling that obviously Carson Beck has had a lot of troubles this year turning the ball over. I'm assuming Gunnar Stockton, they will try to limit his opportunities to even get close to that. So that's why I see no turnovers, trying to run, and then just punt. I hope your defense wins it.
And then also, I think when you get in the red zone, you're probably maybe not as aggressive in some of those positions.
Correct.
Because you're like, we need points here. We got to take field goals. So that's another angle that supports the under.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where it's why it's interesting to see the number continue to go up there on the over-under. And
yes,
a lot of these totals, like we were just talking about the under 45 here or whatever you may get it at. And I like a lot of these unders otherwise on other games too, like even maybe like we talked about the Penn State a little bit. Everything where it says the money is all on the overs here if you look at a lot of these games. It's so weird that I'm wondering day of if this all shifts. A lot of pros wait to day of to try to get a better number or whatnot, and if they hammer it here, 2 hours before kick. So I'm really interested to see this market move, if that even shifts here, because I'm wondering, kind of like the Super Bowl, like a lot of bets don't even come in until day of or even the day before.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's here. So.
Yeah, they kind of wait for limits, and then obviously they know the public could drive a number closer to what they want it to.
Yep.
I think that's a big thing. Oh, man, I had something good there. I think, one thing I did want to ask you. In the NFL, and this applies to all the games, in the NFL, it's well known when you have a bye late in the season, you get a big advantage from that. Like, they have enough data on that over time. College football, there's not enough. So we don't really have data that supports, hey, when you get this late season bye, does that benefit you? But obviously, we have a team in every game here that's coming off a 3-week break versus a 10-day break. do you think that plays into any totals, any advantages, like the rest advantage? Do they start fast? Do they start slow? They've had more time to prep. A lot of angles to think about on that.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. I would like to think with the layoff, it would hurt that team. But, like, there's a lot of running teams in this quarterfinal round, right? Arizona State loves to run the ball. Boise State loves to run the ball. I'm assuming Georgia will shift to more of a 50-50 on that side. You know what I mean? Like, and then some of the other teams are already kind of 50, like a Texas. They're already kind of 50-50 anyway. The point is, I think that helps them, right? Genti's got a lot of carries this year. Scadabo's had a lot of, he's the third player all time to have like 1,500 yards and 500 receiving, in his career, whatever it is. Like,
yeah,
I think that helps them in terms of reps. They need the rest, right, to kind of get healthy again. So I think that might help those teams. Plus, defensively, these are good defensive teams for the most part, right? Penn, Boise State probably needs the rest, needs the film study. You know what I mean? Because they're kind of a bend, don't break defense anyway. So any kind of extra film you get on an opponent might help. But I try not to, because you can, like you just said, you can go either way here, right? NFL, it looks bad when you get a lot of rest, right? So that's why I try not to read too much into it and just kind of go with kind of the basic numbers. But I could definitely see arguments both ways, like with I could, defense teams. So
yeah, I could too, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because like I can see the angle where they come out fast because they've had so long to prep for this team, but then I see the angle that they come out a little rusty because they've had such an extended layoff, and I'm like, I don't fucking know which one. Yeah. Like it could be either way, because I want to think like about first half betting. That's why I asked the question. But I'm like you, I can see arguments both ways, and there's nothing that like fully convinces me.
Yeah, I mean, look at Tennessee, man. That team was flat as all get out, and they had a week off because they did not make their conference championship game. Right?
True.
So they had that kind of layoff there, and they played Ohio State. I mean, I guess Ohio State did too, but, like, I don't know. I'm just saying it's tough to kind of measure that. So that's why I kind of threw that out in terms of let's not read too much into that. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Probably the best game of the weekend here that you'll see is Ohio State, Oregon. Dude, this game, it's going to be easily the best. 5 o'clock Eastern times.
Yep.
Everyone's saying it's the best. I would agree with that. It's kind of either a grudge match or rematch, however you want to look at it, depending who you're rooting for. Obviously coming down to 1 yard last time out, whatever, last game they played versus each other. Thoughts on this being played on the West Coast? Does this matter at all, especially with kind of Ohio State playing last week? So this is kind of another team that's kind of traveling to the West Coast time zone after playing last week. Is there any effect there in your thoughts?
Yes, I thought about that. I think if anything, maybe half a point. That's it. Because you are crossing 3 time zones, Eastern to Western, so you've got a 3-hour difference. Oregon has 0. They're just going south a little bit. But I don't think it's a big deal because of the time of the game. I think if we play really early or we play really late, I think that affects Ohio State. But since we're just playing middle of the day, we're just playing middle of the day. Yep. So I think Oregon you could maybe give half a point to, because the crowds will be 50-50 split too. I think that's how it works. Like both fan bases are huge. You're not going to have problems selling your half of the tickets.
Yeah. Ohio State's been to the Rose Bowl before, so it's not like, oh my gosh, this, you know what I mean? Like this is big for them. It always is. So teams are evenly matched. You can dive all the way down the numbers, which I did. They basically are identical run percentage, pass percentage, EPA and run, EPA on pass. They're all the same, right? If you want to dive into that. Man, if you could get Oregon at 3 points, I think that would definitely be the freaking move.
Yep.
Right? I don't think you're going to get that. I don't expect to see that. If you do, I would get it. If anything, I would probably see this go down in my thought. Like, I don't see this getting to 3 points.
No. I thought this would open like pick'em, so I was pretty caught off here.
Yeah, especially with Oregon kind of being in their time zone and whatnot, and then winning. Maybe they're kind of banking on just a better talented, I guess, overall team in Ohio State, and kind of a rematch vibe. It's hard to beat a team that good 2 times in a row, right? All of that. The only thing I have is Ohio State's O-line is really banged up still, right? They have 2 of their starters out, right? The center's probably going to be drafted in the NFL. Okay. Tennessee has a very good D-line. They didn't do shit. Okay, so maybe that's thrown out the window. Maybe the cohesiveness is still there, even with the backups in, right? The grades for those backups that really knock my socks off. Like if you look at them, it's not great stuff. But I was expecting to see a Tennessee D line kind of penetrate that a little bit more. Oregon's D line is obviously pretty quality across the board, so they could still attack it. The only thing is, Oregon has the 5th best pass rush in the country. So we're coming back here. If Howard's going to be throwing the ball, right, Oregon's going to try to get after him. That was kind of my biggest note here. I do not have a bet on the game. Anything 3 or even higher than that, which I don't think you'll get, I would take. So maybe a live bet, especially if Ohio State receives the ball. So if they have the ball first out, maybe a 3.5 if they score a touchdown first drive.
Yep. That's a good angle. If you want to wait for the 3, if you think that's going to come out that way.
Yep. But Ohio State's offensive line is their weakest unit. Right? Someone's going to take advantage of this, especially with how banged up they are now. Tennessee did not. Does Oregon do that? If you like this 5th best pass rush, Will Howard and all that, this is the time to pounce it right here.
I agree.
What you got?
So, best bet from this game.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't wait for the 3. I took the 2.5 with Oregon.
Okay.
Yep. I took it. I don't mind the 2 points, especially in these close games. I think the last one in the 2, so I don't mind it. I think when you get a lot of points, and I don't think this is going to be like one of those 13-10 grudge matches. So, anyways, I don't mind like that 2.5 value, even though it's not the 3. Yep. Biggest thing for me, looking back at that first time they played, Oregon had a defensive lineman out that's a starter. Ohio State has had 2 offensive linemen that have not played recently, and they're not going to play in this game. You alluded to it. Their grades are not very good, these backups that they have in. And it's been weird because there's been games like versus Michigan where they were completely exploited, the offensive line. And then you have versus Tennessee, which has a really good defensive line all year. They have. Like Ohio State kind of did whatever they wanted to on them.
Yep.
But just from like previous matchup going into this matchup, that was the biggest thing for me, as I think Oregon's going to cause more havoc. And Will Howard had 12 throws under pressure last game. That was the number. He was pretty damn good. Like his advanced metrics with those was like he was playing really damn good. And so I don't think like he's going to play better, right? I look at that because it's like, I'm sure you know this with football. It's like you get, with the NFL at least, you get 10 games where they play to their level. 3 games they play under, 3 games they play over. Maybe we've even talked about it before. So I think I look at that too, and I'm like, was that one of those 3 games for Will Howard? Not the Ohio State team overall, but just Will Howard, just because he did a lot of shit, a lot of good things. Ohio State also busted off like a 50-yard run in that game. Outside of that, their running back actually only averaged like 1.2 yards per carry before first contact. So not per carry, but before first contact, when that's Ohio State needs to establish the run, because Oregon is rated 6th in pass coverage this year. Obviously got the freak and Jeremiah Smith out there. He can kind of break that with every team like they did the first game. I guess that would kind of be my concern, is the playmakers for Ohio State stepping up and making plays. I mean, I think it's going to be an awesome game and it's going to be close. So it's not like this is the best bet where it's like, oh, I see Oregon coming out and winning by 10. No, but I'm going to take the team with points in their own time zone. And Oregon's got continuously better this whole year. Like, yep. We talked about it from Idaho to Boise State, like, and they've kept getting better too. Dan Lanning is a defensive mind. He's had 3 weeks probably to look at Ohio State. I mean, obviously he was prepping for probably both teams before, but he's had a lot of time. And I guess like he's shown himself to have good defensive game plans, and with tape on them, I don't think Ohio State does as much, where I think Oregon can still have success offensively. So, pretty much wraps up my thought. Didn't expect to be here, man, but I listened to some things, read some things, went and looked, and it's like, I don't know why Oregon's the dog. I'll take the 2.5.
It is odd. Yeah. It's dude, this is Dylan Gabriel's time, man. It's, kind of make a case why he did not win Heisman. We all know why. We don't need to go into that. But like, this is time, man. A lot of good teams here that they could play. They got a terrible road, right off the jump. You get
the worst, the hardest road.
Yeah. The most talented team with Ohio State. That really stinks. But kind of go and earn it, right? We got some NFL players all over the field here. Good tackling teams compared to what we talked about earlier in this episode with Penn State, Boise State. So kind of crazy, the opposite of a Penn State Boise State game, and then here you have a Oregon versus Ohio State, which very well could be a natty.
Yes.
Right, without a loss to Michigan here. So be interested to see.
Yeah, I think probably the top 3 teams, if you go to pro power models, I would guess it would be Ohio State, Oregon, Texas. Like in that order too. And they're all on the same side of the bracket.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, yeah, I agree.
Right? Because Georgia with the backup quarterback now, nobody had Penn State or Boise State ranked high. I think everybody was talking about fading them, and then they both got the draws where it's like, well, shit, we can't fade them now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just Oregon got a bad draw, but like you said, go earn it.
Yep, go earn it. All right. Last one we'll talk about is I think maybe the toughest one for me. I think some people think it's the easiest one, which is Texas versus Arizona State. You know, when I first originally saw this spread, you know what I mean? I actually liked Arizona State. I did. And I know that number's gone down a little bit as well.
I would have been with you if you took it. You got a good CLV.
Yep. So, but also I'm scared with it more specifically. Texas is a lot of people's national championship pick to win it all. I just am so scared based off what I saw in the college the SEC championship game. I don't like Quinn Ewers. When you don't have a quarterback that's really good, when you play these big games, it makes me scared to take him, right? It's all quarterback and defense based. Now, Texas has really good receivers. A lot of big catches in that game versus Georgia. A lot of first down catches that were huge to move the change by the Texas Longhorns. But when it comes down to it, Quinn Ewers, I just don't know if I trust him. Now, is Arizona State's defense amazing? No, they're definitely above average. Now, but I love teams that run the football really well. I guess Boise State does too. But Arizona State's getting more points than Boise State is, right? So that kind of caught my eye. And I also was thinking about it. We kind of touched on this a little bit ago. I think it was 2 episodes or maybe the last episode. We kind of touched base on Arizona State was plus 12,000, almost the worst out of any team to win the national championship.
Crazy.
I think it's a little crazy. I mean, they're debatably the hottest team in the country in terms of what they were predicted to be and where they've ended up to win the conference championship of a P4 kind of conference, right? I love all of that. I mean, I just think this team's kind of rolling right now. You talked about Oregon getting a lot better. Arizona State has gotten a lot better. I like this team. It's just how good do you think Texas is, right? I would love to get into the 14 range. I don't think it'll get there, so I'm staying off this bet. Maybe a team total is possibly where you could slide in here. We saw that, Clemson can score on Texas. I know that game wasn't really close. I know it showed 14 kind of as the final score, but it never was really close in any way in terms of how the game felt. I could also see Arizona State also scoring as well. We saw Georgia run all over them. In my opinion, ETN kind of really got after him. Scotabo, I think he can do the same thing. So maybe a team total here will be the look for Arizona State, depending on where the over-under ends at, right?
And you would go towards the over?
I would. I don't know what my book has it at. I don't have it here on the thing, but I'd be interested to see.
Probably going to be around 19 or 20.
That would be my guess as well. Here, I got it here. But anyway, I was wondering what your thoughts on this game was. I think this game is tough because everyone's going, easy. Texas is going to cover. They're the better team.
Yeah. And that's, if I'm being honest, the Joe in me wants to play Texas here. I do.
Yep.
I want to be that guy. They're so much better, especially when you get on PFF and look. And it's just like, God, Texas rates so well in rush defense. They rate above average in tackling, not like super well, but they're above average. Their coverage is top 3 this year. Their pass coverage. It's just hard to back the Arizona State team because, like you said, they're just so hot. They were picked last in the Big 12. I mean, come on. So there you kind of question, is it a fairy tale season, right? Were the predictions like that bad that everybody had on Arizona? Like, how were they this much better? Scottaboo was good 2 years ago.
Yep.
He just didn't have shit around him. He's been a really good player for a long time. Now he has Sam Levitt just fucking dealing. He's rated so well. Like, I think that's why Arizona State's picked it up so well, is because their quarterback play allowed them to open up. And then because you can't just focus on Scottaboo. And so he's shown that he's good enough. But again, the concern is because Texas is like so much better on the defensive line versus the offensive line. then it's like, okay, well, is Texas a bad tackling team? Not really. So I think they can get guys all around Scatterbo, and then pass defense. This is the best team Arizona State's played. So that's where like the Joe and me just wants to fire on Texas.
Yep.
Because when you look at the matchups, I'm just like, Texas should win by 20 points. So it's hard for me to like look elsewhere. I haven't even looked at the over under just because I wanted to lean Texas here and just take the points, and especially now that it's gotten down to 12.5. But I don't think it's going to get much lower than that, because game day, people probably come in and take Texas too, because they're thinking just like me, even without looking at stuff. But Quinn Ewers, like you said, man, that's my one concern. If you always have a concern about a bet, for me, it's Quinn Ewers, because Texas should be able to run the football, but he is not. He just doesn't look good. You just see plays like where I'm like, damn, I'm impressed with you, Sark. Like, you're drawing up some shit. And Ewers just doesn't see him, panics in the pocket, throws a fucking dirt ball because he's panicked, and you're just like, man, you can't take advantage. So if he doesn't take advantage, because I think Sark will have some stuff. So if he can take advantage, sky's the limit here for Texas. But that's the question.
Yeah, I heard someone say it today, and I think I've said this a couple of times already. Like, why is the Arch Manning package not used more? Why aren't they doing more with him? I think this offense becomes a little bit more dynamic when they just throw him in there. And he runs the ball a little bit. He's got a little bit of an athlete here too. But they just don't use it that much. I think they used it twice in the Georgia game. It's interesting they don't use it enough, considering how much I think Quinn Ewers struggles at times with certain plays. But could be wrong. Again, I think it's going to come down to Sark and what he can do against that defense, right? I mean, we got the 100th ranked defense in the country here with Arizona State. Kind of that bend, don't break, but they cause turnovers, right? They can make things happen when they need to. It's funny, the first quarter of that conference championship game was Arizona State, Iowa State, Big 12. Iowa State was the better team, right, in the first quarter. But obviously you don't win the game in the first quarter necessarily. But everything changed after that. So be sure to see how that, too, kind of shapes out. Like, if the game's close at the first quarter, maybe you get a 14 or something. I don't know. You know what I mean, on the Arizona State side. So, I mean, it's a live bet. I'm staying away from this. I could easily see a Texas blowout, right? Yeah. I think that all makes sense. But if Arizona State kind of hangs tough, runs Scotabo, has a little bit of success, but not a ton, like Sam Levitt's got a good grade this year, get some play action going. Everything that I've read on, you see if Phil still, everything's in, like, the spread's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of makes you think, but you're afraid to pull the trigger, especially on the Arizona State side, because there's that kind of hanging out there. Now, if Quinn Ewers was even a little bit better, I'd be like, yeah, this is a blowout.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't see. He was a Heisman hopeful, and he wasn't even close.
Right. I mean, yeah, he was supposed to be number one quarterback going into the draft too. Like, I don't even know if he can declare pro anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if Arizona State keeps this game close, I think they have to score. I do, because even with talking shit on Ewers, I think Ewers it'll be easier for him, because Arizona State's defense just isn't that good. I mean, I watched KU go into Arizona State and put up 34 points on them. They still found a way to lose in the final 2 minutes.
Right.
And KU has a good offense, to be fair, but like, I just don't see Arizona State getting stops against Texas. So I think Arizona State is going to have to score with them. So I guess that supports if you are worried about the blowout, but that Arizona State team total over, because it's probably 19.5. So it's not like a huge number. I think I would like that better than 12.5 on Arizona State.
Yep. They've only let up, it's 19.5 for Arizona State. Texas has only let up over that number twice this season. 19.5 specifically. Team. Yep. Georgia scored, I'm sorry, 3 times if you want to count that Georgia game, which obviously it would. So 24 versus Clemson had 24, Georgia had 22, and the good old Vanderbilt Commodores
Vanderbilt
had
Hell
24 against them, but otherwise that Texas defense has played pretty well. Now, obviously Texas's schedule has been kind of suspect. Whatever you want to think there, that's kind of up to you, right? I mean, they do have the 6th best strength of schedule, but they did get Georgia at home, right, this year. So I don't know. It's up to you. What you want to think about that.
Up to you.
Yeah, up to you. I mean, you got some Kentucky in there. A&M doesn't have the best offense, right? Stuff like that. They played then they play Florida when Florida had their backup quarter. Aiden Warner was in, so they were on their 3rd string at that point, right? Florida was. So I don't know.
That's fair. Fair point.
Mississippi
Fair
State
point.
was on their schedule. Right, you had Michigan on their schedule, which we saw how Michigan barely a 6-6 team. And they got Colorado State earlier than the year, which Colorado State got a lot better. They beat them 52-0 the first game of the year. Anyway, so they got teams kind of at the right time, which always helps, right? That's football. So we'll see. But I don't have a bet on that. But anyway, so you have one best bet. Is your slide updated?
It is. Yeah, we got it. Right, about 30 seconds before we went live.
Okay, cool. Nice. All right, we'll do a best bet. I think I do have mine up. Let me get it going here for us. Oh, I don't have the slides here. But there we go. Oh,
we got to sign in.
Don't tell
people our details.
Yeah, I know it. Okay. We'll go with the my best bet, I said it earlier, is Penn State was for -10.5. I got it -10.5. I think I would even do it at 11.5. I don't think. What is your opinion? Do you think the big, that 1 point difference kind of factors in here? You say that probably not.
In the spread?
Yep.
I mean, 11's not a key number. It's not like it's a 12 or a 9 or something, but 11's not super often. So, I say that because obviously 10.5 to 11.5. No, I think if you like 10.5, you like 11.5 all the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Is the Penn State -10.5 against Boise
I bet
State.
money. Yeah, I bet money too that the public's going to want to come in and bet GNT. New Year's Eve, we're going to be drinking already pregame, and so I wouldn't be surprised if this number closed 10.5. They won't let it get crazy because pros will come in and take it. If it gets to 10, so it won't go there. But
yep,
yeah,
I get you. All right, what's your best bet? What you got?
Oregon +2.5. Probably the smarter thing would do would if you felt comfortable waiting live, like Ox talked about, snagging them at 3.5, even if Ohio State's come down and gets a field goal or something first drive. But I don't mind not having the 3 here. I like Oregon enough in the spot, well rested. Teams have trended differently a little bit late in the year. Obviously, Ohio State crushed Tennessee. I get it. That doesn't bother me. So, anyways, I'm on Oregon State Oregon +2.5 for my one best bet.
No money line, no, not worth it. You think, or what? What's your thoughts?
Man, I really like the points. Like, to me, 2 is a key number as well as 3. Obviously, 3 is more key, but I just think we're getting to this place where people are missing field goals. We're going for 2 a lot more. That 2 factors in more than it did a decade ago. So, yeah, I'd rather take the 2.5 versus taking +110 on the money line. Like, that's not that much. I'm not betting $10,000 here, so it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not worth the risk, I guess, especially when it comes down to something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, you heard it here first. We got our best bet, 2 best bets, and we'll come back again on Thursday and have the NFL slate, final week of the year. Some things at stake. I'll probably stick to props this week, I think, for the NFL. I mean, that's kind of where I think we both have the most success outside of everything, teasers and whatnot.
No, teasers have been terrible.
Yeah, I know. So, all right, that's what we got for college football bets, and we'll see you on Thursday. Peace.